This is an old Acer laptop that really doesn't have much of a purpose now. It's really big and clunky, and I have an M2 MacBook Pro now that I use as my daily driver laptop. So this one kind of just got left behind. Until now, I want to give it a new purpose as a game server. My operating system of choice is going to be TrueNAS. The 3 game servers I'm going to install are going to be Minecraft, Terraria, and Palworld. All right, let's get our flash drive plugged in and figure out which key is our boot key. Hey, it did boot from the flash drive. TrueNAS scale installation. Let's go. And that's pretty much it for the TrueNAS installation. Just a couple of clicks and a couple of prompts. And now TrueNAS is installing. It doesn't have a local front end, so once it's done, I'm going to put it in the server rack and then we'll access it from our desktop PC. The TrueNAS installation is complete. Please reboot and remove the installation media. And we'll do a reboot system and pull the flash drive. So this is what TrueNAS's local UI looks like. When you plug a monitor in, it's just a simple text-based menu here, 1 through 9. Most of these settings are pretty basic, but some are crucial to the initial setup, like the network configuration here if you need to assign a static IP or a static route. Some of the other options are more for troubleshooting, like 6 and 7 for opening the TrueNAS command line interface or the Linux shell. So if there is an issue that you can't solve from the web UI, you'll have to plug a monitor, keyboard, and mouse in and get to the Linux shell this way. I just wanted to go over this really quick just to show people what a server UI actually looks like locally. There's really not much to it. Everything's meant for you to be accessing it from the web UI remotely. So now let's get it installed in our server rack, get some Ethernet routed to it, and get an IP assigned to it. All right, let's get an IP assigned to it. I've got my Ethernet that I'm going to be using. All right, now let's configure network settings, which is 2, enter. Okay, so we have DHCP for IPv4 as yes, and we have IPv6 as no. And then we'll reboot, which is 8, enter. Confirm reboot, Y, enter. So now after we've got our Ethernet plugged in, we've set up our network interface and did our reboot, we now have an IP address. We have an IP of 192.168.2.14. And that 2.14 address is going to be the IP that we type into our browser to access the web UI. So now we can say we've successfully converted this old Acer laptop into a TrueNAS server. So now the next task is making sure I can close the laptop with it still being fully functional in this shelf on my server rack. All right, so here's the moment of truth. I'm gonna close the laptop. I'm gonna make sure that this blue light still stays on, as well as the link light on this Ethernet port stays on. So this one to the far right. Oh, the blue light went off and the link light went off. So I'm gonna have to figure out a way to make sure that this laptop doesn't go to sleep when the lid is closed. So let's get our login created for TrueNAS. Then we can go in and configure it to allow the lid to be closed and stay on. On the home page, you can see some specs of the laptop. I'll go into more detail on those later. First, we go to System and Shell. The config file we need to find and edit is called logind.conf. I'm going to open that config file with my favorite text editor, Nano, by typing this command. The file is located in systemd in the etc directory. Here we see several lines that start with the word handle, and we see the 3 that are called handle lid. Those are the ones that we need to ignore, so the laptop will ignore the fact that its lid is closed. The reason that it's not active is because of the # or hashtag at the beginning that comments it out and ignores it. To get TrueNAS to read those lines, we need to delete the hashtag from those 3 lines and save the file. At this point, we're all done. We just need to restart that systemd service, but I'm just going to reboot the machine instead. All right, so we're back from our reboot after changing around those lines in the config file, and we're going to close our lid. Let's see, that blue light should stay on and this green light should stay on. So now we've got the laptop on this nice little shelf in our server rack. We can see that the boot light is nice and illuminated, and we see that the link light on the switch is nice and green. Now, let's get some game servers installed. You can always manually install applications, but the game servers that we need are all right here in the apps list. Since the laptop only has 1 internal drive for the OS, I need another device to store the apps. I have a 500 gig SD card that I want to use that I popped into the SD card slot on the front of the laptop and created a pool. Pools in TrueNAS are virtual storage constructs that combine multiple drives into one unified storage system, providing redundancy, scalability, and improved performance. We're just using one SD card for now, so we won't have redundancy until I add another drive and add that to the pool as well. Now that we have our game server pool created, we can install our apps. First game server I'm going to start with is Palworld. I'm just going to use the default TrueNAS settings, create a password for the server, and click install. Now we see it's running, and I'm going to follow the same process for Minecraft and Terraria. Alright, so getting all 3 servers up and running was super simple with TrueNAS, but it also makes it really easy to understand what's going on. If you just simply click on each game server, it shows you the port that service is hosted on. So all you need to do to connect is load up your game, type in the IP address, and then it'll ask for the port number, and you just use that port number that TrueNAS provides for you. Now that we've got all 3 servers running, we need to connect some clients to those servers. But first, let me show you how all this works. Now on the server side, which would normally be a remote server hosted by the company, in our case it's hosted locally via TrueNAS. The server keeps track of everything. It controls pretty much the who, what, when, where, and why. It enforces all the game rules, so all like the survival mechanics and the mob AI. It synchronizes all the player locations, so if player 1 destroys a block, it updates that information to all the players on that server so they see that block disappear. Now on the client side machine, aka the player, that machine is the one that's rendering the game. And it's handling your input, so whatever you input from that client machine gets instantly sent over and ingested by the server side. So you press up on the client machine, your character moves forward on your screen, then that sends a message over to the server that you moved this many coordinates. So the server kind of just sits there and waits for information from the clients, checks whether it's okay or not, and then updates it for everybody that's connected. Alright, so now let's see what we get when we connect to our 3 servers with our 3 game clients. A couple of notes on the laptop that I'm using in case you're interested. It's the Acer Aspire E15. It came out in like 2018. It was like a pretty decent budget laptop. It's got an i5 8250U, 8 gigs of DDR3, a 1080p screen, and a little 2 gig NVIDIA MX150 chip in it. And here you see all the CPU usage for all 3 servers hosting 1 client. We got Minecraft around 20%, Palworld around 10%, and Terraria even less than 10%. So as you can see, we're not even using 50% of our CPU, so we've got plenty of overhead for more clients. There are pros and cons of hosting your own game servers. There's clearly a lot of convenience on just using the game's public servers. You don't have to worry about cost, you don't have to worry about maintenance, everything just kind of takes care of itself. But there's something to be said about self-hosting. You have full control over everything. What mods you want to have, what plugins you want to have. You don't have to pay a monthly fee for another company to host your server on a cloud somewhere else. You can always save backups and upgrade your hardware over time to accommodate for more clients. And it's just a learning opportunity. And best of all, you don't have to give big corporations more of your money. And that's always a win. Here's a video I made not too long ago when I finally decided to go all in with Linux. Peace.